this is going to be a very interesting coaching matchup because we all know the narrative surrounding James Franklin. He can't win the big game. He can't win a big game. And yes, he beat SMU, and yes, he beat Boise State. But clearly, this is a massive step up in competition.
Oh, for sure. But I will say, to maybe smash that narrative, this is as good of a spot as any because this team is only 1.5 underdogs. The books are certainly giving Penn State a fighting chance to win against the Fighting Irish. So Penn State, you look at this team, they've been great. They've had, I'm not going to say an easy road, but like it's an easier road than some of the people that are still remaining in the college football playoff. I think I'm not going to pick a side in this one, though. I think we both settled that we kind of like the total in this one better because you're looking for things you can count on when it comes to betting. For me, it's that you can count on both these teams to run the football. The quarterbacks are really not the story of this game, at least through the air. Like you look at both sides, Riley Leonard, if you're playing well with this offense, you want him to run the football a little bit. You want him to be dynamic with his legs. And on the flip side, Penn State wants to be good at running the football as well to set up some of those downfield shots for their offense. So I think I'm going to count on both teams running the football. I think I'm going to go first half under, though, to prevent myself from losing in overtime or just a flurry of points in the second half. So first half under 21.5, I think is the call for me.
I'll give the full handicap here in a little bit. I'm all over the under. I love the full game under in this game. And look, may not pay off, but the more I look at this, the more it just screams under to me. Like I feel like this total should be around 42. I feel like it's going to be such a slugfest, such a slobber knocker. Now, we talk about James Franklin, we talk about Marcus Freeman. They had the Orange Bowl sort of dual press conference yesterday, and Marcus Freeman was funny, not afraid to give James Franklin a hard time.
Yeah, Coach Franklin has a lot more experience. One being a head coach in college football, and even just being in the college athletics.
On the right.
I'm sorry.
I think in a very eloquent way, Marcus just called me old. What you said? Much more experience. Yeah, that word. Yeah.
Oh, these two guys ribbing each other just a little bit, just a little coach talk. But Marcus Freeman is right. James Franklin has been a head coach for a long time. Wasn't he, Bill, you can correct me on this, wasn't he the ace recruiter at Maryland?
I believe it is correct.
Okay. And then
he was here at Vanderbilt. He was a big deal here in Nashville.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Good call.
Vandy.
So he's certainly earned his way to where he is. This would be, for James Franklin, this would be the win. Like finally getting to a national championship game and winning a game like this, where you can't dispute this is a big game. And if you look back at the regular season, this is one of the things I worry about when it comes to Penn State is just looking at their schedule. During the regular season, they beat one ranked team. That was in week 3 against Illinois. And then, of course, they beat a ranked SMU and Boise State. But when they faced a bigger challenge, like an Oregon or like an Ohio State, they haven't come home. But this would be massive for James Franklin because no one would question this is a huge game. You just won a national semifinal to go to the national championship. So not only would it be great for Nittany Lions fans, but this would be great for the resume and the narrative and the reputation of James Franklin.
Oh, for sure. And I think James Franklin deserves some credit for getting here. Like, this is a big deal to be in the college football playoff semifinal when there's only 4 teams remaining. But if we're going to do the schedule thing, shouldn't we do that to Notre Dame as well? Because it's not like Notre Dame's win streak has included like a murderer's row of teams. Like maybe you look at the last game, you say, well, they beat Georgia, but they beat Georgia with a backup quarterback. And then the round before that, it was Indiana, a team that, some people argued wasn't supposed to be in the college football playoff. I don't necessarily agree with that. But like, look at the win streak. It was over an unranked USC team. They had a ranked Army team, but it was an Army team towards the bottom of the top 25. Virginia, a terrible Florida State team. Navy, Georgia Tech, Stanford, Louisville, Miami of Ohio, and Purdue. So if we're going to do the schedule thing, you have to do it to Notre Dame as well, right?
No, I think that's fair. There's certainly their best win was against Georgia, and you're right, they had a backup quarterback. But I also think in that game, that Marcus Freeman outcoached Kirby Smart. Like, Marcus Freeman was very creative in how he coached that game, and I mentioned that one particular fourth down where he shuffled his punt team off the field, then brought the offense on. Georgia had to counter, and you absolutely knew that Notre Dame was just trying to draw Georgia off sides, and it worked, and it extended the drive. And little things like that are things in the past that maybe not a specific instance like that, but Kirby Smart, without question, is one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in college football. So when you have a guy like Marcus Freeman, who has been getting it done for a while now, outcoach someone like Kirby Smart in a big spot, going up against a guy like James Franklin, I think it's going to be fascinating to see what coaching decisions are made in this game on both sides, because when you have a game this tight, and coaching certainly matters in every game, but especially when you're talking about a game that, looking at the point spread here, is essentially a coin flip, like a decision to go for it on a fourth down or to punt or to try a trick play or to do something off schedule. Like, these things are going to matter in a big way in a game like this. So not only do you want to look at the matchups involved and the top 10 defenses, but one decision or two on either side could absolutely tip the scales, more so than I think in other games.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to how you use your chess pieces. Because in a lot of these games against lesser contenders, you can just feed your superstars. And you can just say, like, hey, for Notre Dame, have Riley Leonard run it a bunch, and there's your game plan. Like, how many yards did he have to throw for in that last game? Not many. And then you look at Penn State's side of things. It's, okay, if you feed Tyler Warren, it looks like you're probably going to have yourself a pretty good day on the offensive side of things. But when you get to this stage in the game and you have pieces on the defense that can go toe-to-toe with those guys, and there's ways to game plan to maybe slow down, some of those facets, that's when it gets really interesting.
Yeah, and little update for you. Double D put this in the chat, and it looks like Abdul Carter is going to play for Penn State, so that's massive for their defense, a defense that is already fantastic. And then on the Notre Dame side, the one thing that has been kind of a question mark this week is Jeremiah Love, because he got banged up with his knee, I believe, against Georgia, but he's going to go as well. So you've got two of the most impact players on each side who are going to go tonight, which is what you would expect. If you can go, you got to go in a game like this. I'm really excited. I know some people disagree with me because I've been in the comments a little bit and on X, but I just don't see a high-scoring game. This just feels like a game where both teams are going to try to impose their individual wills on each other, and it's going to be the team that makes that one mistake or two that ends up costing them, because I feel like it's going to be strength versus strength, which is, we like to run the ball, we have a great defense. Oh, well, we like to run the ball, and we have a great defense. So it's just, I don't see this game getting out of hand unless, like we saw against Georgia, what was the tipping point in that game? When there was a sack, there was a fumble, Georgia turned over the football, and that was how Notre Dame held on to win, because once they went through that series where they were able to score, and they did have a special teams touchdown as well, but it was which team is going to blink and make a mistake, and I think we're going to see a similar game here.